All right, Martin, who are you and what's your experience? Why should people listen to you about relationships?
Well, the reason people should listen to me is because I've been doing this for a really long time. I was originally a dating and relationship coach since 2007, so that's a very long time ago now. I don't know, 15 years or something like that. More than that, 17? Anyway, I started off as a dating and relationship coach in Japan, working with Westerners who lived in Japan because I'd lived in Japan already for 7 years at that time. So I'd had a lot of experience with Japanese girls, and so guys wanted to learn from me about Japanese girls. And then soon after that, because Asia is more similar to each other than, the West, I got clients in Korea, so I started teaching in Korea in the end of 2007. And then soon after, I started teaching in China and Singapore, in Hong Kong. And so that's how I got into this. And originally, it was mostly about the beginning stages, meeting women out, bars, clubs, restaurants, wherever, bookstore, on the street. And that's kind of how it started. And then, of course, the guys end up in relationships and they're having sex and they have to text girls. And so all of those things become important things to talk about and to deal with. So I taught seminars about texting. I taught seminars about sex. I taught seminars about relationships. And I worked with a lot of guys one-on-one, especially as guys got older and their lives got more complicated. One of the things that's interesting or fun or easy maybe about working with young guys is that young guys are all about in the same situation. They work, but they're new to their jobs, so they're not making that much money, and they have a certain number of experiences, but those experiences are somewhat limited. And so just learning basic things is really helpful. But then as you progress and you have a relationship with someone and you learn more about, about what you like and what kind of weaknesses you have, and then you need a more tailored approach and a more tailored thinking. And so for the guys that I've worked with for years, they've gotten married, one has gotten divorced, some of them have had kids. So as those things change, and of course they have their business relationships, and their business life affects their work life and their family life and their investments. And so all these things all come into having a good relationship and managing your relationship. And so there you go. That's kind of my experience.
And so what is the biggest things you've seen that you've had to help guys with in terms of steering them in the right direction to have a healthy, happy relationship?
Oh, wow. Okay. I think that the biggest thing is guys getting a better understanding of themselves. And I don't mean that in some woo-woo, connect with your inner energy thing. I don't mean like that. I mean, what kind of life do you want to have? Because once you figure out what kind of life you want to have, then you can figure out what kind of woman would fit into your life and how you want a woman to fit into your life. So I think, obviously when you're just getting started, you're young, you don't have much experience, you're clueless. I was certainly clueless. And so you make a lot of mistakes, not because you're an idiot. I mean, you are an idiot, but it's not because you're an idiot. You just make those mistakes because you don't know any better. So it takes some time to know yourself well enough. So I think that's a big, maybe the biggest challenge. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what other reasons would you say to someone who's new to watching you of why, I mean, you just touched on it now, but what other things would you say of okay, what can you help guys with who are struggling with their relationships?
I think one of the biggest things is people often start relationships off in a really bad way. And so eliminating a lot of those early mistakes is really key. Okay, so what are some examples of early mistakes? Okay, one example of early mistake is that it's very common that in the beginning of a relationship, people are super excited. Both the guy and the girl can be super excited about the relationship. And so their attention gets really heavily diverted into that relationship, and they exclude a lot of other things. And then as that relationship sort of stabilizes and they get more accustomed to it, then they sort of take attention away from the relationship and put it back into the other areas of their life they've been neglecting. And from your perspective as a guy, typically guys think, oh, it's a big deal, it's no big deal. But for women, they think, oh, he really liked me before and now he doesn't like me. And so they start acting out in various ways that are detrimental, because now they start kind of demanding your time and attention, and sort of now they're sort of chasing you for your time and attention because you've withdrawn it. And you think, well, I need to take care of these other things. I haven't seen my friends, and I just need to get back into the gym and this. But the girl's just thinking, what happened? Why doesn't he like me? He used to call me all the time. He used to do this. What's going on? What's wrong? And so that's a big, that just sets up the relationship to be really fucked, basically. And that guys do it all the time. And I call this the reverse magic show. So in the reverse magic show, if you happen across a street magician, the magician has to start off with a good trick. Of course, it needs to be a good trick. But the next trick has to be better than the last trick. And then he has to introduce a new element, and then he needs to start out with a good trick, but not amazing. And then, it's like the juggler, right? He starts off with 2 balls oftentimes in one hand, right? Okay, now that's, it's not super impressive, but most people can't do that, so it's a good start. He doesn't come out with, throwing axes and flames and torches on the first, at the very beginning. He adds that in later. And by doing it that way, it holds the audience's attention, because it's like, oh, this is good. Oh, wow, that's even better. Oh, wow, that's even better. Oh, wow, that's even better. And then at the end, when he says, okay, time to give me the money, everyone's like, yeah, sure. Whereas if he did it the other way, with all the flames and the axes, and he's throwing them up in the air, and then he goes, okay, now I'm doing 2 balls. Everyone's gonna leave. But this is what guys do in their relationships. In the beginning, they have all the fireworks and they put in all this effort and they think of everything, and then later on, they're doing less. And from the guy's perspective, they think, oh, well, because I've got things to do. But from the girl's perspective, it just means you don't like her as much as you did before. So you gotta do it the other way around, where you start off with something good, but not your best trick. And then as the girl sticks around, she gets better and better from you. And that's the best way to run a relationship, because it gives her something to look forward to. It gives her something to work towards in terms of, well, this is why she should stay with you, because in the future, there's going to be these other things. Now, what that means is early on, you have to do a good job of setting expectations. And what I mean when I say set expectations in this case, because there's lots more to talk about with that. But in this case, what I mean is that you tell a girl, let's say the first time you meet her, you say, hey, next time we meet, or, next week sometime, we can go do some activity, whatever that activity is. Now that activity can be, maybe this time, the first time you go out with her, you just meet her for lunch, let's say. You say, oh, let's have lunch. And, the girl thinks, okay, well, lunch is easy, so I'll meet him for lunch. But she's not going to be impressed by lunch, right? Of course not. But she's probably will show up. It's casual. It's really chill. Okay, and then the next time you say to her, hey, you say, hey, next week there's this live band performing at this bar that I like to go to. If we meet up next week, then I'll take you. So now it seems like you're taking her to something a little bit more special. Now it's not super special. It's just a live band that's performing at a bar, right? I mean, that's happening all the time. But it's more special than just lunch. So easy to do, a little bit more special. And so then when you meet her next time, you take her to this thing that's better. Even if you have sex with her after the lunch, you still follow up and do this. And then what it shows is, if you tell her you're gonna do something, you actually follow through and do it. And it wasn't just something you said to get her into bed. And this can work really well, because a lot of times when sex happens quickly, girls feel like, oh no, he just wanted sex probably, and now we're not going to see each other. And then when she's giving you a hard time meeting, and you say to her, hey, I told you I was going to take you to this thing, and you haven't really been replying much, like what's going on, then she realizes, oh, I guess he really is interested in it. It wasn't just about the sex. So setting up that next plan and then having that as something makes the girl realize, oh, okay, it's not just about the sex, if she happens to sleep with you quickly. And if she doesn't happen to sleep with you quickly, that's fine too, because she now goes and has another experience with you that's slightly better than the one she had before. And then you can do it again with another interesting activity. So when you do it like that, then the girl experiences the more time I spend with him, the more interesting the relationship is. Now, of course, in the long run, there's going to be some days that are really boring days, or maybe not even days that are not fun, like she helps you move, okay? But it's about the average is getting better, right? The average of what you do is getting better. In the beginning, you have to manage this stuff a lot more carefully because the amount of experience she has with you is very little. So you need to make sure that the experiences she has are good, consistently good. But after you've been with her for, let's say a few weeks to a month or 2 months, there's going to be, as you spend more time together, like casual time, then there's going to be some things that are not, going to be super amazing, and that's fine, but it's the average. And it's about setting these expectations about something we'll do in the future and then following through with that so that it gives her a reason to stick around. So there you go. I don't know, there's a lot of other things.
I think that's good for now. We can leave it there.
Okay.
But they can subscribe for more, right?
Okay, yeah, definitely. Like and subscribe. Leave some comments or questions or whatever. I like comments and questions. I'm used to doing this stuff in person with people. So, I really prefer to do it in person, but these days it's all about the YouTubes. So, if you post a question or a comment, then I'd love to read it if it's polite and friendly. If you're going to be a dick, just go and watch somebody else's video.